I love it. I love it. Chill bump time. Great cutscene. Great pause. 2. I repeat, 2 scarabs. Best playable ending to a video game ever. I absolutely love it. I've got him in this corner and oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's real fair. Invincible. Yeah. Oh, great. Now I'm stuck. This is just wonderful. Oh, and of course.
The will of the gods.
Here we go. Oh, come on! I hate Halo 3. So, the question is, do I love or hate Mission 5, Floodgate? Hello everybody, this is JP3 here bringing you another Halo 3 Love or Hate Legendary playthrough entry. This is mission number 5, Floodgate. A level that might be a little sawed off to some degree. If you know much about the development process with Halo 3, you might know that it's likely that the level that we now know as Cortana was supposed to occur at the end of Floodgate, probably not in the form that it is now, but in some way, shape, or form, that was the intent, and ultimately something changed. Time crunches commenced to occur and such, and now I'm kind of babbling about it because I really don't care. What I care about is telling you about Floodgate and my playthrough of it. That stuff you can go look up. So, as you may remember, if you watched the storm ending cutscene, the flood have inundated this entire area. This area we just went through in the storm, and now we've got to try to figure out a way to get past them and see if we can't get inside the ship that crashed. And it appears, we'll find out later on, it appears that maybe Cortana could be in there or something. So, crazy, huh? So, I just, went and got that skull there. I don't even remember what skull it is. I just know how to get it. But, that's just for swag purposes. No need to do that. I like to go with a shotgun and the gravity hammer for a lot of the early part of this mission. And so you'll kind of see how that works out for me. And, of course, if it works out for you, great. If not, if you like another loadout, that's fine. Notice there, I just threw that into a pile of flood. They come down there. Then they're going to start coming kind of from all sides, and so that's where the gravity hammer really comes into play. I try to reserve some of its charge, but that's really not necessary for my strategy. I end up dropping a pretty decent gravity hammer in terms of its charge and what was left, so I don't think it's necessary at all to try and conserve it the way that I kind of appeared to there initially. I say all that because I think my conservation of it may have gotten the Arbiter killed there, because he didn't seem to have a chance against a flood, jumping. They kind of jumped him, right? And that's kind of how it looked to me. You don't have to save this guy, but, it can be kind of fun. It can feel good. You can get a chance to, act as if you've done a good deed here. So what's interesting is that if you don't shoot any shots, like, sometimes these guys kind of take a while to get over to you. I mean, you can throw a grenade over their head, or you can just start smashing them with the brute gravity hammer here, and then eventually they'll, oh my gosh. So every chance I have to get a killionaire in this series, it gets ruined by something, and at that time it was some guy somehow survived all that pounding, or maybe got there late or something, and punched me right as I was about to pound that killionaire down. So anyway, we're just going to use the shotgun on these guys until we realize that we probably need a better weapon than that. And let's get that guy eventually. Oh, we've got one of these guys. So one of the things about the Flood in this game is that while they are most certainly, I would argue, the easiest Flood out of the 3 games that feature them, Halos 1, 2, and 3, one kind of monkey wrench that was thrown into that is that every once in a while you'll get a flood, whether it's a human, a brute, or an elite, that just seems damn near invincible. I don't know what mechanic governs that, and I'm not sure why those enemies didn't come from the left. They normally do, but anyway. I saw them on the minimap for a little bit and then they went away, but I'm not sure what governs it, but every once in a while you'll run into a brute or a human that just seem almost invulnerable to your attacks for a certain period of time. the elites that have shields are generally very difficult to take down, but every once in a while you'll get one with a shield that is, again, kind of in that same vein. It seems like it's just... they're invulnerable for a while, and not all of the elites with shields are like that. And, of course, not all the brutes are like that. I would say my biggest gripe with that, besides its existence, is that they're not marked in any way, shape, or form. You just kind of happen upon them. So, anyway, that's the one little trick here. You don't run into that a whole lot in this mission. We see it a lot more, of course, in Cortana, where dealing with the Flood is the, you know, the order of the day. Now, I just really fast, I know I'm talking about some things, I'm kind of ignoring gameplay, but I'm hoping it's self-explanatory, this loadout and how I'm using it to hopefully be quite, you know, effective for the most part. Here is normally, at some point around here is where I'll normally pick up a sword from a fallen elite, but the elites actually fare really well, and either, well, I just accidentally killed one there, but they tend to fare pretty well here and stick around for a little bit longer than I'm used to, and maybe on some level that explains why I never got a sword drop. If you even notice, like right now I'm actually looking for one. That's why I say, like, the gravity hammer really isn't my go-to weapon from here on out. I'm not saying it's not good, but, you know, so I decide instead to throw that trip mine. Anyway, oh gosh, looks like one of them actually turned over to the dark side. But notice here, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not accustomed to this, to them lasting this long. One thing you have to be careful of here, more so than I think at any time before now, is that you will get some brute shot and shotgun flood coming through here. And so notice how I did keep my distance. It wasn't just the trip mine. It was also fears about a negative outcome there. Notice how in Halo 3 as opposed to Halo 2, and I don't know for sure, but maybe even Halo 1, gosh, for some reason I'm forgetting, but when you stick a carrier form with a grenade, it explodes and destroys all of the infection forms inside of it. Whereas in Halo 2, and I believe in Halo C, what would happen is it would explode anyway, and the carrier forms would go everywhere. Well, the carrier forms in Halo 3 carry a lot of carrier forms, like probably like 3 or 4 times what they did in Halo 2 and Halo 1. So it's a good thing to try to stick them. That way you're not just sitting there fighting off carrier forms or wondering if they're going to respawn anybody. Another big change with the Flood from Halo 3 is that if they revive, they can pick up the weapon or weapons that are near them or next to them when they revive. And of course, the biggest difference, perhaps of all, the most noticeable one, is that they can revive dead bodies no matter what, as opposed to in Halo 1 where they didn't revive anybody. In Halo 2, I believe they would only revive former Flood. So they had to be Flood already, I believe. Notice how that brute there, that was a great example of a brute that just seems almost invulnerable. He got hit a lot, in the dual plasma rifles is a great weapon to carry with you for the Flood, and I'll prove that in Cortana if I don't prove it here. But that one brute just took a lot more damage than the normal, than what's normal there. So right there, stay back because they tend to have ranged plasma weapons and the spikers. So I notice how I stay back there. Again, I'm not used to the elites being alive for this long. It's just usually me and Arby. So this group here, kind of the same thing, but not nearly as armed to the teeth. They come down, I back up, and right now, the elites that were with us, they are hanging back. They didn't all die back there. I'm almost positive. They're just hanging back. So, you know, now it's just Arby and I. So anyway, let's get our shotgun out here as these guys start to jump into our faces. And they are kind of focusing on the Arbiter, which is really good. those two guys doing that because they are both holding plasma rifles, and yikes. So I'm forgetting at this juncture if I've used the shotgun much at all in the series leading up to now, but as you probably know, the shotgun has been massively nerfed in every way for Halo 3 compared to its Halo 2 counterpart, which was pretty darn nerfed compared to its Halo C counterpart.
Chief, the elites are looking for something. We didn't believe them when they told us.
It's Cortana, Chief. She's on that ship. Find her. Get her up.
So notice here without the sword, just to kind of get back on track here, notice here without the sword, these weapons do a pretty decent job, especially when it comes to stripping elite shields, because otherwise it can be pretty darn hard to strip their shields. Oh goodness, we just keep getting attacked here, but that's fine. We've got the weapons to deal with it. And so again, notice how, here's a great example. Watch this elite. Even with shields, this is impossible unless it's one of those unmarked, nearly invincible guys. Look at that. He's still alive down there. He didn't die. And what just happened is that he actually ran into a wall or something, and the infection form probably popped out of him to pick a new body. It's another weird mechanic that you see in this game that you would have never seen in Halo. Well, it wouldn't have been applicable in Halo 1, and then in Halo 2 you didn't see that. So sometimes if they get tired of a body, like if you beat up on it a lot, especially one that's like that you can do a lot of damage to before it dies, you'll see them come out. And so that's kind of a surefire sign that you've dealt with one of them. So you just have to be very careful ultimately. Don't take anything for granted. So now we're dealing with our first ranged pure form. We saw one of the, I forget what they're called, one of the big gorillas. That looks, when I first got this game and I was playing it and kind of getting a sense of what was going on, I thought those were like hunters that had been revived. Seriously, I swear that's what I thought. But that's not true. Pure forms come in the spidery form. They come in the ranged form as we're dealing with now, and then of course the homunculus form. The homunculus form has a very powerful melee attack and are extremely damage resistant and/or have a lot of hit points. Notice how the dual plasma rifles will wear him down, but in an ideal world you'd have the sword, because even a gravity hammer slam doesn't necessarily kill him. You'd have to hit him directly, whereas the sword, all you do is swipe and he dies. Same with all of the pure forms. The sword is by far the best weapon against them. Some people might argue that the flamethrower is if you get a hold of it, but I would argue differently, because you can kill yourself with a flamethrower. You cannot kill yourself with your sword. So again, this is going to be kind of boring in a way because we don't have the sword, so we're kind of hanging back and letting the Arbiter do... well, I don't know if we're hanging back too much here, but we're kind of letting the Arbiter do... The Arbiter's having all the fun. How about that? Because we really don't have the best weapon for dealing with the pure form. So I'm just going to jump down here and grab this gravity hammer, which I know will help me. There was a sword right there, and I did not see it, or I would have grabbed it. Now notice here, we finally have these guys pop out, which, to be honest with you, I don't usually make it up here this quick. But in trying to evade this brute with the brute shot, I fall down into the hole. I'm not going to tell you that I don't remember for sure if I was purposefully trying to fall into it, but I kind of wasn't happy that I skipped those two enemies. But I don't know, man, just not having that sword, it just, something didn't feel right playing this level. And of course there's plenty of swords down here which are probably for decoration, if you will, at this juncture, but it just kind of makes you wonder if, again, you were supposed to come down here and there was supposed to be a lot more fighting. One of the biggest clues as to this level, again, the end of it was supposed to be, like, on some level, kind of what Cortana is now, is notice how the aesthetic, the architecture, almost everything's the exact same, even though right now we're on a cruiser, and in Cortana we're on High Charity. High Charity is a very ancient city. This cruiser, I'm sure, is newer. So for it to have the same architecture and all that stuff kind of gives it away. But anyway, well, that's Floodgate. Floodgate's it's a cakewalk for the most part, even without the sword, which is again by far the best weapon against a lot of the enemies I was facing. But anyway, do I love or hate Floodgate? I love what is in Floodgate. I think it's a fun level to play, but when you can complete it in 13 minutes and 16 seconds without skipping anything other than a couple of dudes there at the end, not really be challenged much throughout. I certainly don't hate it. I love elements of playing it up, I guess, but yeah, not too much else to say. Please like if you enjoy this content, subscribe, of course, if you haven't already, and definitely try to hit that notifications bell if you haven't already. That way you'll be, notified whenever I release something new. And of course, use the comment section to talk about your love of this level, your hatred of this level, your indifference to this level. Shout out to your friends. Talk about life in general. I try to answer all comments, certainly try to read all of them. But hey, that's it for now. This is JP3 signing out. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you very, very much for watching. Goodbye.